I've had many names. Sauron lives because of you!
There is definitely no joy in beating a dead horse, but I do want to dig deep in why Rings of Power is not as good as what people expected. I narrowed it down to 5 reasons, and in this episode I want to talk about my 5 reasons why this show is not good. Trust me, I am being very polite with this show. Very polite. I try my best. And yeah, here we go. Number 5. Too much CGI. No one minds a good CGI, and in fact, imagine the possibilities that filmmakers have today compared to 50 years ago. But too much CGI is just dull as hell. It looks fake. The amount of money spent on this show is unbelievably high, like $1 billion show. Even though some scenes look great and beautiful, there are some weird and awful scenes as well. They just look really terrible. For example, that scene where Galadriel is on the horse, god, it still haunts me. The other day I was watching one of the Critical Drinkers videos, and he was actually right when he said some scenes look very small scaled and cheap. Sauron is talking to a bunch of orcs. He's supposed to be Sauron. He could be bigger, it could be fantastic, and that was such a missed opportunity. Number 4. Bad acting. I want to follow up on my previous reason, and too much CGI led to too much reliance on the visual effects. The actors had to react to so many things that were not there. I don't want to blame the actors, they're there to do their best, I hope. But too much CGI made them look pasty and dull. They just say their lines and that's it. Most of them look bored and out of place, and sometimes, as I said, I can't be hard on them because they are reacting to nothing. Especially the lead actors, Galadriel, Halbrand / Sauron, Gandalf, or the Dollars or Hobbits. They're just bad. I don't want to sugarcoat this part. They're just bad. They look pasty. And whenever Galadriel shows up on the screen, I don't want to say it. No, I'm not gonna say it. Whew. But I do want to give a shout to the dwarves because they're okay. Number 3. This show takes itself too seriously. I know that the world of Tolkien is where people are super sophisticated mostly and everyone's too pretty, but come on man, loosen up a bit. Do you remember the little banters between Gimli and Legolas in the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the middle of the battlefield? They were so wonderful and so fun, and they did not feel out of place. Remember those awesome dialogues? This show leaves all the funny to, as I said, Dollar Store Frodo and Sam, and you just know they cannot pull it off. The way the story goes and the actors say their lines like they're allergic to have some fun. This is of course not all their fault. It's not, as I said, it's not the fault of the actors. And this leads me to my next reason, which is number 2, bad writing. The writing of this show is not good. I want to be harsher, but it's just not good. The show follows so many storylines, and at some cases, all of them does not make any sense. How is that even possible? I'll give you some examples. Elrond jumped in the river from a super high waterfall after disobeying the king, and in less than 15 minutes he's all fine without even a scratch, and he does not even face any consequences for defying the king of elves. This is so weird, and this should be talked about. How did they just forgot that he just looked in the eyes of their kings and disobeyed him? And then he even finds himself leading a very important mission. And another thing is, it happens a lot on this show that the characters find themselves where they need to be, like out of nowhere. They're just teleported to the location that they're needed. For example, Gandalf creates a storm, and then those two Harfoots find themselves in a village of Harfoots. There are so many other things, there are so many other places that you know what I mean. And yeah, let's just go to number one. Number one, and this is a big one. Before I talk about it, don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Number one, disrespecting the source material. I was talking to one of my friends about the show the other day, and he told me something very interesting about Rings of Power. He told me that if the show did not have the Lord of the Rings in the title, it could pass as a decent fantasy show. Not a good one, just a decent one. There are so many things that the creators got wrong. From Gandalf showing up in the Middle Earth way before he originally did in the books, to the orcs having kids. Oh, I don't want to get in there. Even the most superficial Tolkien fans know that the show is going off trail, where it should not. Let me give you a good example of going off the trail. For example, in the Game of Thrones Season 3, Catelyn Stark died in the Red Wedding, but in the books she was brought back to life, and she became a badass witch. This could happen, but the show creators decided not to do this, and it worked perfectly because it was a great ending for the character, and the show was awesome up until the 6th season. But this, what they're doing here, this is just not working. I could ramble about the show being too woke and like this, the messages and the themes and the agendas and things like that, but I just want to see this show as a bad show. This is a bad show. I don't care about the messages, about the millions of dollars spent on this in this TV show. This is just a bad show with bad writing and bad acting and disrespectful to the source material. That's it. And as always, don't forget to ask your significant other. Movies at 6. Goodbye.